And we are live.
Welcome back. Welcome back to another Jewcast. With me, as always, Alan Roberts. Today we have a very special guest, Josh Rayner, fitness pro, right-wing American. Welcome to the show, bro.
Thank you for having me, boys.
Yeah, right off the bat, we were talking backstage about the MAGA hat. Why is it that you think some people are still scared to come out and be full MAGA?
I mean, it's just the entire culture for so long is it's just complete like liberal capture, right? Like that's as long as I can remember. As a kid, I remember like George Bush times, and it wasn't that political, at least around me, but like George Bush was being made fun of in a way in popular culture that, other presidents would get lampooned on SNL and all kinds of cartoons and stuff, but it wasn't as like aggressively like, this guy is definitely worse than the other side. And Trump is just like to the nth degree, and especially because Trump actually can beat them, that they hate him so much. And so people don't like the feeling of being viewed as the other, as being ostracized. And, depending on where you live, like I'm from Southern California, it's probably more balanced here than it is, in like San Francisco, of course, but it's still definitely the minority.
Now, how is it for you as a MAGA Jew? You're an outspoken Jew, one of my favorite few on all of Twitter that's got a strong voice as a right-wing Jew. How is it for you being a Jew and being right-wing?
Well, for me, it's not weird because I've always been. So I'm half Jewish, and so depending on who is viewing me, that either means something good or bad, or good for different reasons or bad for different reasons. But I mean, I never thought anything of it because I remember I've only voted Republican my whole life. And it probably wasn't until I got more interested in politics in the last like 5-10 years that you started to realize that, okay, Jews definitely trend really liberal. Before that, I just didn't pay attention to that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I don't have any problem with it, but for some reason, a lot of other people do. So, yeah.
Yeah, in America, the more religious Jews are very right-wing, but a lot of the secular Jews, obviously, just like secular people from Christian backgrounds, they go to the left. So when I started becoming very right-wing, all my high school, college friends, there was a lot of friction there. Even before that, before I was just totally right-wing, when I was just like a conspiracy guy talking about Alex Jones, 9/11, a lot of these people started not being able to handle the type of things that I was saying, and you lose a certain amount of friends. But when I was like full Trump in 2016, some of these liberal Jews that I grew up with, they just lost their minds at me. You never had anything like that?
No, I mean, I didn't have a lot of Jewish friends growing up. I always say until I got to college, I only had one friend with two Jewish parents. Again, politics just wasn't really much of a thing. And then even in college, when I was in a Jewish fraternity, and so I had a ton of Jewish friends, still was not very political. I don't remember a lot of political discussion. But then once Trump came along and you'd see like your friends post on Facebook, a lot of them were very anti-Trump, which is funny because you're right, there's such a massive division between more, even if they're not like Hasidic Jews, just like more religious Jews being more conservative and loving Trump. Trump's, pretty pro-Israel, versus the ones that just I kind of say like, I mean, people talk about like, okay, Reform Judaism is basically just like extreme liberalism with like a Jewish covering over it. Just like a lot of these like Christian churches and Catholic churches are the same thing. They have pride flags hanging around, but they're supposedly religious. And you really just started to notice this like dedicated being a Democrat, like being a liberal is these people's religion. And the kind of whether the Jewish identity or any other kind of identity, it kind of comes after the fact. Like it's used to justify the liberal priors.
That's exactly right. Now, something I've seen out of your account in particular, you're a very public right wing Jew. Not a lot of right wing Jews have Nick Fuentes commenting on their stuff all the time. Why do you think it is that Nick Fuentes is such a big fan of yours?
I think for a lot of these people, it's like, the Fuentes and the Groypers and that kind of stuff, they kind of like categorize me and some other people as like these like Baptist types, which is like some people on the right who are seemingly all half Jewish and secular and very right wing and very pro Trump. And it's like a lot of like the arguments that I think they're used to using, they don't have. So they kind of have to come up with kind of just incoherence. And, most of us, I would say that, if you want to put those of us into a group, are impressive in various ways. And, it's almost like they can't quite nail you down with something. So they try to pigeonhole you with, okay, well, I'm going to take this Jewish element of you and attack, like you are the same thing as Ben Shapiro and like Noam Chomsky at the same time. Right. And it's very strange because it doesn't work at all. But they're just grasping at straws.
The funniest thing is, Stephen Miller, super for deportations. So Nick Fuentes is mad at them for what reason? And I saw you had a tweet where you're just talking about the DHS is going to penalize immigrants for like anti-American, anti-white behavior. Like you're just retweeting this and saying, yes, got what I voted for. And Nick Fuentes replies to you and he goes, oh, it's because you're a Jew. Like, only Jews want anti-white, anti-American foreigners out of the country?
Well, the thing about that one is...
I'm atheist, and I'm for it.
Yeah, well, it's... I guess, like, in that specific, whatever it was from the DHS, it didn't actually say anti-white. It said anti-American. But then it also said anti-Semitism. And so, what they're doing is they're looking for everything that can be Jewish in any way and therefore make it bad. So it's like, it doesn't matter that Stephen Miller is probably the single most effective anti-immigration person in the entire political sphere over the last 50 plus years. But because he's Jewish, it has to be bad somehow, which is just ridiculous. And then, of course, like my response is like, okay, so you're Mexican, you don't want deportations. Is that the game that we're playing? Because it's not honest. It's not an honest argument from him. No. Which you would think, like, I mean, I don't know the guy. I don't have anything like against him in some personal sense, but you'd think if you'd be like a right-wing person and you're supposedly America first, you would be trying to do things that are very pro-America, like deporting people. And lying about deportations, saying that they're not happening, saying that Obama did more of them, even though we all know how they fudged the numbers with turnaways. It's so dishonest and it's in such bad faith. And it feels like we're not doing a pro-America thing anymore. It's just some nonsense inter-ethnic squabble, which is just unnecessary.
But the thing about Fuentes is he never was. Like, first of all, I've got this theory that nobody that can't do 10 push-ups should ever have any fucking opinion to any fucking body ever anyway. And I would place some fucking money that he can't. But secondly, he's every chance he gets, he's an obstructionist. Like, I mean, he will take a different side just of anything. Like, he'll say some interesting shit. Like he said, he had some stuff today about like how, like, hey, black people. I don't believe he even came up with that. I believe somebody came up with it for him. I believe Nick Fuentes is completely inorganic. I believe somewhere along the line he received an inorganic push to get where he's at, because very frankly, I mean, his methodology is, I'm going to be against Jews, against black people, and I'm going to stay there. And then there's a bunch of literally nameless, faceless bots that push him, if you ask me. Like, it's completely inorganic. I don't believe that he is an actual true, like, I don't believe he's a truly independent thinker. I believe he's being guided in some way.
Yeah, I mean, when he responds to one of my tweets, if I get the notification and I see it soon enough, the number of likes that he gets within like seconds of posting it seems to defy. I mean, I'm assuming that a lot of his followers, because they're very obsessive with him, have notifications set. But I imagine there's some kind of bot stuff as well too. But I do not like pay. I mean, he's unavoidable because people talk about him, but like I don't pay close attention to him. I don't really interact with him, and I don't really care much about what he's talking about because the little that I have seen is very kind of flip-floppy all over the place and seemingly in bad faith. And so I think all these people who don't like him, who when especially on Twitter, like it's just an attention economy, and there are people who they basically just do things so that people talk about what it is that they're doing. And it doesn't matter if it's someone with that kind of platform or someone much lower who's more of like an ankle biter. They want you to be talking about them and engage with them. And for the most part, I just ignore. I mean, if Fuentes is going to respond to me, then I have an opportunity to at least do something entertaining or fun or whatever. Because again, the arguments that he's going to make against me are always in bad faith. They're just wrong. And again, a big part of that is people think like, okay, because I'm Jewish, because I'm half Jewish, somehow that means I have to have this whole string of beliefs which don't necessarily even have any relation to each other, because you have far left Jews, you have center Jews, you have far right, you have everything in between, and somehow they try to pin everything that a Jew has ever done on you. Like I've had arguments where people like they're in my replies and we go back and forth, and it's like, you think you're talking to Ben Shapiro. I've never said any of these things. You don't know what my beliefs are on any of this stuff. I've never said I think close borders for Israel and flood the gates for America. I've never said that. But why are you treating me like I said that? It doesn't make any sense.
I think that's like. Go ahead.
You made a couple of points that are great. Well, I've had the exact same treatment, getting treated like Ben Shapiro by a lot of his little Groiper followers, where I have a lot of completely different views from Ben Shapiro. But then second, something you said that's incredibly important that I think people don't understand is that Nick says things for attention, and that's the whole point of it. That's the end of it, is that he says things for attention. We had a guy on here a couple of weeks ago named Misfit Patriot. He was debating Owen Schroyer. And, there's some points from the side that Misfit wanted to debate from that you could make about Israel. There's some points that Owen can make about Israel. But Misfit himself was only doing the debate for attention. It's very obvious. He's not learned on the subject. He said something as ridiculous as the World Trade Center was hit by a plane in 1993 by terrorists. Like, the guy is clearly just out for attention. And people don't understand that is Nick. He's flamboyantly gay, and he says things simply for attention a lot of the time. Like the whole Gavin Newsom thing. Do you think he really cares about helping?
No. Well, a lot of times, whether it be Nick or anyone else, like they even say like they're trolling on purpose. And the thing is everyone who responds in a certain way is basically playing into their hand, right? Like there's a way to deal with stuff which isn't playing into hand, but then there's a way of sort of falling for it, so to speak. But then a lot of people are so stupid that they think that if you do anything, you're falling for some troll. And it's like, is it a troll to like try to throw away the country? Like, is that a good troll? Like, is that really what we're doing here? But you're right. Like all kinds of people, no matter where they are on the political spectrum, are people who are just vying for attention. And when they take the bait purposefully, because they're also baiting, right? They want the attention. They're just as guilty as the other person, regardless of whether they agree with you on something or disagree with you on something. I'm not going to say any specific names, but there are people who have beliefs that I have, whether they be political beliefs or health beliefs or anything, in between, that more or less align totally with me. And I just do not like them at all because I don't trust them. I feel like they have ill intentions and they're being manipulative. And so I don't like the idea of just amplifying anyone who remotely agrees with me on something if I don't feel like it's honest and genuine.
See, I'm a very good judge of character. I have very high discernment. The reason I wanted you on the show today, I could tell you're a legit dude. Like, you're a good guy. It's so sickening to go around the corners of Twitter, and everywhere you go, there are just fakes and phonies and frauds pretending to be some right-wing leader, some patriot for America. And me, having been in the industry for over 10 years, I know all the skeletons in so many of these guys' closets. It's just so gross to me. So it's nice to have a genuine dude on that I can just point to and say, hey, you want to see somebody new? You want to see somebody with talent? Go check out Josh.
Oh,
well,
thank you. I appreciate that.
We're even getting to the point, though, don't you gentlemen think that, like, even on the right wing, it's not really talking about constitutionalism at all. Like, I mean, everybody, we're at both sides are straying away from freedom. You know, like I have this saying, the pendulum swings very hard left to right at an increasing pace. Like this last swing to the left literally had them chopping like little kids' dicks off. The swing to the right could be just as severe and just as worse. But what people don't understand is with each swing left and right, the pendulum itself, the whole platform moves forward towards authoritarianism, right? And if you look at it, like we are going to be arresting, like we're going to be arresting people for burning a flag. I just think we should be able to burn every fucking flag. No, don't get me wrong. If you burn the American flag in front of me, I think you have a right to, but I'm going to throw you a fucking beating. But, you know, I think you have a right to burn it. You have a right to catch the beating and throw you, you know. But I just think that we all need to watch that. And it's like, I view Twitter, America, all that shit as everybody's programmed for hissy fits. Everybody, right? Everybody's programmed for hissy fits. I recently changed my my profile picture to an icon, like a American skull icon, right? And it is amazing to me. I wish I would have done it years ago, because the automatic assumption of people get, I'm either like, people are like, oh, you must be super fucking fat since you were blah, 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 this and that. Like, it's like they fantasize about how bad your world is. Like, so you as a MAGA Jew, they fantasize that you are literally some cuck who will do the bidding of the people that hate you and blah, blah, blah. They go through this whole fucking thing, right? Meanwhile, you're a highly intelligent person who helps people and, you know, just happens to vote Republican and believes in conservatism, right? There's a huge difference. But we're being taught that anybody on the opposite side is completely fucking evil, right? Don't get me wrong, there's evil on both sides. But I think that, like, if we took a look at it that way, where people have been taught to deal with this fantasy, especially when they can, like, even when I had my icon picture, and I'm sure you've gotten this in the fitness world, the very second you say anything to anybody to tell them to lose weight, all of a sudden it's like, you live in a car and you fucking have, no woman's ever touched your penis, and like they fucking go nuts, right? And that's how we're like, a lot of people, like the lemmings, because there's lemmings on both sides, and I can prove that by how many people got the fucking jab. But there's lemmings on both sides, and they're trained to be immediately responsive in an almost hissy fit fashion. Do you think that that's part of the thing that's because I've been doing the show with Andrew now for months. I don't fucking get the Jew hate. Like, I don't, like, I can understand the hating the Israeli government, because frankly, every Jewish person should hate the Israeli government. They treat you guys like a science experiment. But I understand that, but like the just like ridiculous amount of like hate that all of a sudden came out of like seemingly there was always been a little like, oh, we don't like the Jews, blah, blah, blah. Some people are fucking weird. But all of a sudden it was like, well, social media ran out of talking about the gays, the trans, the black, the white, everything like that. So you guys are up next. Like, is this what we're looking at?
Well, you know, I mean, for you, you mentioned a lot of things there, so I'll maybe go.
Yeah, I tend to ramble on.
Yeah, and I'll say at least about the Jew thing is that what usually happens to someone is they go, something's wrong, right? Something's wrong in my life. Something's wrong in the world. Something. Right. And then people are determined to find a reason for why did this happen? Who's at fault for this? Right. How did this come to be? And then you start finding, okay, you start, whether you're reading history or looking at news, you're seeing people talking on social media. And at some point, like you are given an answer that turns out to be a lie at some point about something. And then you start going, okay, then there are people who are the real truth tellers, right? And then you start going these like layers and layers and layers, and there's conspiracy theories and there's kind of everything across the whole spectrum. And then it gets to a point where no one becomes satisfied with any answer. They think there has to be this deeper right. thing. And if people can say, okay, there's a Jewish person involved with this thing, and because I think part of the reason is Jews are small in numbers, and maybe like the lives of Jews seems unusual, or the practices of Jews. You know, this is probably where a lot of this stuff came from over history, because they're like an insular community who God knows what they're doing in their little temples and stuff. So then people start coming up with theories and that. And so you take little nuggets of truth, a lot of crazy things, and you just mix it together with the fact that everyone is extremely mentally ill. In general, people's lives are terrible right now. I mean, COVID was a disaster. The economy is terrible. Like, you know, there's probably 100 million people who aren't supposed to be here in this country. Like, it's a total shit show. And so what people are going to do is they're going to grasp at straws. So if you can find out that, oh, did you know that like some prominent communists were Jewish? Then okay, so communism is bad, and then that makes communism Jewish, and then so there's a thing there. But then some people don't think communism is bad. Some people think capitalism is bad. And so there's prominent Jews in capitalism. And so then capitalism is bad. But then the thing is like, some people like don't get what Jews are, you know, and it's if you think of people who have been, who have moved throughout the world over time, been concentrated in areas and who valued basically studying and stuff, right? If you're going to be on the right and you sort of have this like acknowledgement of the reality of race, and you realize that different populations have different attributes to them, that they have a tendency to be good at this or bad at that or anything like that, then you find that Jews are going to go wherever there's intellectualism. They're going to go wherever there's money. There's going to go wherever people are concentrated. So they're going to be in all the densely populated cities. So they're going to be the most likely to be exposed to culture, business, any kind of dense hub of anything. And they're going to all drift in different directions. So communism is Jewish, capitalism is Jewish, fascism is Jewish, Judaism is Jewish, Christianity is Jewish, Islam is Jewish. I mean, like Jews are probably overrepresented in Buddhism too, because there's a lot of like hippie type. It's like, you know, what are you at that point? You're just like, Jews technically do everything except excel at sports. So, you know, you basically, yeah. No. I mean, look, there are some of us.
I mean, it's not like you're not an athlete, you know?
No, there are some of us, some of us who are athletically gifted. You know, there's the line from Airplane. Would you like the pamphlet on Jewish sports heroes? Or the leaflet, right? You know, but honestly, and what's funny is most of us who are like half Jews, right? It's like there's some kind of like hybrid mixing thing. So, you know, like who am I thinking of?
Pete Sampras.
Was Pete Sampras Jewish?
Pete Sampras, his father's a Jew, his mother is not, so he's technically not.
I thought his dad was Greek.
His father's a Greek Jew.
Are you serious? I had no idea. No one ever talks about that. No one ever talks about that.
Pete Sampras, one of the greatest half-Jew champions.
See, like, you know what's funny is, you know, that kind of thing where like the someone who's bragging about something, a group that's bragging about their own thing, and then the group that's trying to attack them might actually just mention the same thing. So there's like a website that's like called like Jewish Contributions, which the whole point is to point out how much Jews have been behind things, and it's supposed to be bad. But the Jews are gonna be like, look at all this stuff that we did. Right. And so like it's funny. Like I never actually posted it, but I definitely made this meme where it's the is it Predator? Yeah, the Predator handshake meme with Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers. Yep. And it's Nazis, Jews, and the thing they're shaking hands on is asking if you're Jewish. Wow. Yeah, it's funny because like identifying Jews is a thing that both Jews and people who don't like Jews want to do. And so I'm blown away that no one has ever, because you see that thing the other day that was like Jews invented donuts. This is another, yeah. It was some guys like Jews invented donuts, and that's another reason why Jews are evil, because donuts like make you fat or something. I don't know. And then I had this joke that was like, wait, Jews invented donuts and bagels, so they're taking the meat out of the middle of the food and charging you full price. That's such a Jewish thing to do.
That's fucking awesome. That's a great way.
Yeah, it's great. But so like, I always think it's funny because people like a lot of times Jews try to take ownership of like a person, like a Jew. And so whenever like a Jew goes under the radar, you're like, really? I would have thought that Pete Sampras, like for Macho Man Randy Savage, his mom's Jewish.
That's what I have in mind.
His mom was Jewish.
Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yeah, his dad was Italian and his mom was Jewish. So yeah, it's I don't know. Like the whole Jewish thing is very funny to me because for me, a lot of times I feel like I'm like a spectator in it because like I grew up with a Jewish father who is he was very much like what you would just like picture as like an old Jewish guy, you know, like that's just kind of like who he was, but like he didn't practice Judaism in any way. He didn't talk about it, never talked about anything related to Jews or Israel or anything. It was just like I'm an old Jewish guy. Isn't that funny? And then like that was it. And so whatever, like I'd never heard of the Talmud until Twitter. I'd never heard of it before. I don't know what it is. I'd never heard any of my Jewish friends talk about it. I guarantee none of them had read it. So like everything that I know about Jews, I more or less learned from the internet. So I'm always just like, is that, you know, and sometimes you can't trust the Jews and you can't trust the anti-Semites. So you kind of have to you have to parse through all of it because people are just kind of trying to throw all kinds of crazy shit out there.
The funniest thing you were saying, like, yeah, we're a people that we're inclined to study. We live in cities. Like, imagine a people that are very studious and live in cities for thousands of years. Do you think that they might end up being good lawyers or good comedians? You know what I mean? And like the things that we do, they lend ourselves to that. Like the Talmud does not, like all these people on Twitter, they share these memes, which are fake quotes from the Talmud most of the time, but they think it gives us like permission to steal or something. And you can find right in the Talmud, by the way, where it says, and Shmuel says, you are not permitted to deceive a Gentile. Like that's the holding. We're not permitted to lie to people because they're not a Jew. But what it does give us permission to do is permission to become very good at interpreting law, like very, very good at reading through. You see all these books up here? Like this, one of these is a 10-volume set called Sefer HaChinuch, which just goes through all the various mitzvot, 613 mitzvot, things that we're supposed to do, not supposed to do, and all of the reasons and all of the explanations. That's just one set of books that I have. I have like 300 books of Torah study in my house, and I don't even have all of the books. There's a 73-volume set of the Talmud. I only have 4 volumes of it. You know what I mean? There's just endless learning and studying. If like you're a religious Jew, yes, that type of study through thousands of years, that will lend itself towards Jews being very intellectual, good at law, good at a whole bevy of fields. We're overrepresented in everything, but the haters want to only notice the downside. Oh, we're overrepresented in things that are bad. They don't want to see we're overrepresented in things that are good.
Well, I guarantee you, any of these people get in legal trouble, they will do everything in their power to get a Jewish lawyer. You know what I mean? Like, do you want to win or not?
Right.
There's that, but it's also, you know, it's not a race thing; it's a culture thing. I pointed this out many times on the show, Andrew. Like, Jewish people have a culture of strong familial units and to push for excellence. This is the same thing with most Asian American culture. This is the same thing with most cultures such as that, you know, like Americans, like white people, like our culture is just like men. Like, I mean, no offense to white people. Well, fuck it, I don't care. But in reality, like it's a matter of like generational culture, and it's the same thing. Like I don't know too many Jewish people that are lazy. I know a ton of fucking white people that are lazy, like fucking ton, you know. And it's a weird, odd thing to me that like for some reason everybody recognizes it that like Asian families make sure that they educate their children. They value education. They value physical fitness. There's very, very few fat people, all that stuff. They value these things. Therefore, that is how their culture is. Same thing with like Jewish people. You guys value success. You value learning. You value family and all like that. But for some reason, Jewish people have that shit used against them. Like, how fucking dare you love your wife and want to be in a familial unit? How fucking dare you, be believe in a religion and actually do the things that the religion says? Because that's my biggest beef about other religions is that like Christianity is like Judaism light. It's like they talk about shit, but they don't need to fucking do. Like, oh, you're going to go to hell for this. Like, there's a billion things in the Bible that anybody living in America right now would go to hell for. Like, are you wearing mixed cloth? You're going to hell. Have you eaten shrimp today? You're going to hell. Have you, like those sorts of things. But people look past that. It's the cultures that take their own culture very seriously that seem in our society today to have to pay the social price, so to speak.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just saying. Well, I'm gonna kind of push back on you there, just because I think this for some reason, a lot of white people feel like the need to sort of like attack themselves or put down like their own people and stuff. And I'm not saying that you're purposely doing that, but I think it's just something that people really easily do because, especially in America, right, there's the majority. Through all of Europe, right, it's the majority. And so when you are a big majority group, you have lots and lots of numbers. And so there's all kinds of white people in America, right? There's lazy ones, and there's lots of very, very impressive ones. And there's just the fact that like, the core of the American people is this white Northwestern European settler population, right? It's like, regardless of what anyone like perceives me as, like I've always thought of myself as white, regardless of the fact that I'm pretty darn tan. So I've never kind of felt this like separation thing where, a lot of people accuse Jews of as like constantly attacking white people and not thinking of themselves as white, and then thinking of it as, this sort of like dual identity thing to then like attack white people and stuff. It's like, the world that we live in realistically is a white world. Like the Anglos like dominated, they just conquered the world. And I think of all the other white ethnicities, which I include Jews of, as just like a part of that in different like moving pieces. Like the people who settled this country and pioneered this whole country and literally trailblazed it, like those were white Northwestern European settlers. And so I wouldn't say that, white people are lazy. I know plenty of like super fat, lazy Jews too, but they might be a little bit more prone to like trying to get something done, maybe like business wise, right? There's maybe this little hustle element to it. But I also do like, I do really think like culture comes from biology, right? Like it's not just like, I wasn't raised Jewish in any conceivable way. Mm-hmm. But there's an element of me in, I don't know, maybe the way that I have how do I put this? I just do well, like when I'm talking with people. Like I've always made a lot of friends, and I'm drawn to things where like I get to be like on camera and stuff like that. And Jews in entertainment, right? Like that's not like something that is totally fake. It's because Jews have some kind of inherent ability to, whether it be creative with screenwriting or to be funny as a comedian. I think a lot of like the biology sort of sets this cultural thing beforehand. And for some reason, a lot of people like want to kind of like erase whoever it is that we are, but you couldn't like, there's no way that you can maintain culture that strongly that would totally like overcorrect for biological variation, right? Like it's the biology that sets it. And it's like, it's the video with like the beaver inside a hallway, and he starts putting together stuffed animals and creating like a dam because that's what the beaver knows how to do instinctually, and it's never seen a beaver build a dam before. Different, and that's why I think like all the little tiny differences in ethnic groups are even the most interesting, because there's so much difference in the way that like an English person and a German person would do something, even though they're so closely related. And it's a biological thing more so than I think the cultural thing.
There's a few things there I gotta talk about. When I went to apply to college, they give you the form, you have to check your race. I checked white. I thought about checking Native American like Elizabeth Warren to get a leg up, and then I was like, I don't want to lie. I'm gonna just say the truth, even though I know it's gonna hurt me for some amount of points I'm not going to get for diversity. But white was the box that I checked, and it's just so funny. Like I brought him up earlier, Fuentes, he is Mexican. When he was confronted by the police, he said to them, "I'm not a white supremacist, I'm a Mexican." And you look at his father, he's a very brown Mexican. And it's all these third worlders that are leading the charge now to say that like Jews aren't white. It's Myron Gaines, real name Amru Fudel, who comes from some shithole in the Middle East. I don't know wherever. Nick Fuentes, Mexican. Like all these guys who are like black and brown, and they want to say Jews aren't white. Like Jews have been in America since the founding. You can look up Haim Solomon, literally funded the American Revolution. There would be no America without Haim Solomon that funded the revolution.
You don't want to say that out loud. You don't want to say that out loud. They'll use it against Jewish people.
Well, you know what's funny is that a lot of these people are like either implicitly or explicitly like anti-American, right? Like,
Yep.
and what's kind of funny is, I mean, look, Fuentes is technically Mexican, but if you didn't know, he looks, pretty white, but he probably feels some sort of alienation. Candace Owens is black. Myron Gaines is from somewhere, like his family's from somewhere in Africa, I think. I don't know, some Muslim African country.
Yeah.
And the thing is, none of these people probably feel like they would be a part of the original America in a certain way. And, Jews were considered, to be different in a way, but they were still considered white. And what's weird is that, like, to some people, Jews are like a lower white, and they think that like the Jews don't deserve to be above them the way that like the higher whites might. But on the flip side, some people think Jews are actually the whitest whites because they're the most successful and the most in power and have the most money. But the problem is, I really do think is like, I think focusing on like anti-Semitism is probably one of the worst things that Jews put energy and money into.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I think it hurts Jews, and it hurts, it hurts white people. Because again, like, these people can't tell the difference between a Jew and a white person in the first place, right? They have to look up at early life. They have to find some kind of thing. And there's really no difference in the minds of the vast majority of the world. And so, like, as myself, like, I'm half Jewish. I've considered myself Jewish in some way. I've never not considered myself white. I'm not interested in anything that benefits Jews at like the harm of white people. Like, that doesn't help me in any way. Like, if you think of, what's funny is, if you think of the way that a lot of these people talk about Jews, and I'm not even necessarily saying that this is like incorrect, but like, Jews have a strong in-group preference. But if you look at Stephen Miller thinks of his in-group as America.
Yep.
Right. He doesn't.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He doesn't like think of like, I'm a Jew, that's my thing, and then screw everyone else. He thinks of like, I'm a Jew, but I'm American.
Right.
Right. And so, and then like, everyone else needs to get kicked out of the country. And so for myself, like, and maybe there's a reason why there is a lot of us who are half Jewish. And I think you get like a certain, like some of the Jewish powers, like the Jewish strengths, like imbued in us, but it's not necessarily tied to Jews. Like most of my friends growing up were white, non-Jewish people. And so I don't like think of, it just feels very weird to me to think that I would just like sacrifice everyone that means anything to me for, like Israel, which like, I have nothing against Israel existing. I've been to Israel. I want it to be like there, and I want it to be, I want it to be good for the people there. And I also want it not to harm us. Right. Like I want that to be the thing, but like, why would I sacrifice my own home and everyone I've ever loved? Like I probably know maybe 5 people who live in Israel, probably fewer. I don't know. It's like, that doesn't make any sense. That is not what a selfish in-group focused person would do, because that's not my in-group. It just doesn't make any sense.
Right. So the only thing I really would like to just like, I'm going to push back on you a little bit about, there's really no, like, you look at it globally, it looks like white people have conquered the world because that's what we show white people. But Africa, the Middle East, China, India, where the vast majority of the world population is, would beg to differ. And that's just reality. Like, white people are a minority on the planet, and so we haven't conquered really the rest of the world. We have conquered the areas that we are at. But I do think that, like, when people look at it that way, we're also forgetting, like, notice how the mainstream media news in most European countries, including America, Canada, we don't discuss Latin American politics. We don't discuss African politics. We don't discuss any of these things, Now, don't get me wrong. I think that America is very imperialistic. And I'm not even saying I mind that. I would rather us go to complete isolationism and go to an America-only policy, meaning the rest of the world can, leave us alone or do our bidding. But one way or the other, we do our own thing. But in reality, the vast population of the world is not white. I mean, it is just not. Like, there's more people in India than I think than there are all white people. So
like the thing is that is actually the result of like white American and European like hegemony. Like the only reason why people in Africa can even like survive is because we send them all the food and all their infrastructure. Like there should not be however many billions of people there are in Africa. Like they're completely dependent on us. And that is this like that is this crazy thing that, you know, it's like Mr. Beast. Like I just like, why would you make all of these people totally dependent on you? That doesn't make any sense. Like we can't just sustain the rest of the world. Like China, like I went to the only time I ever been to China.
It makes sense because we're not trying to sustain the rest of the world. We're trying to control the rest of the world. That's how we're trying to control it. We haven't taken over yet, but we're trying. You know,
imagine breeding a bunch of puppies that you're not going to take care of, and you're going to set loose in the desert. It's not really a moral thing to do.
Yeah, well, so my mom took me to China when I was like 7, and it was way, way less developed than it is now, right? Like insanely less developed than it is now. And you know, my mom is a diehard Trump supporter. She's great, you know, super diehard MAGA boomer. And when I was a kid, I remember she tells the story all the time because she's like, you know, all like very like cognizant of like the threat of China. She always said, "Why is everything made in China? Like, why? Like, you know, all my toys, all these little things we made in China. Why is everything made in China?" But because of Clinton and NAFTA, like we conquered the world and then we sort of gave it away, you know. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people are talking about is that like, what about us? Like, what about our own country? Like, why are all? I mean, I forget when this what the date was that this statistic was the case, but it's like white people used to be like 30-something% of the world's population, and now it's like 7 or something, right? And it's like the only reason why all these people can essentially reproduce and breed in these numbers is because we sustain them. The only reason why China has the economy that they do is we gave them access to us. We are like the locomotion of the world. And, you know, even if our power is diminishing, and I wouldn't even say that necessarily our power is diminishing, but our power is being shifted on who actually has the power, right? The average American is losing more and more power every single day. But it's really like we have created our goal, right? Like it's, and for no matter how people want to think about it, like the interest of white people, American, Europeans, the interest, at least in Jews in America and Europe. I mean, I can't speak for Israel because I really don't know the details of what goes on in there. There's just no like separating those kinds of things. And for the people who like everyone who the 99% of the people who like chant like death to Israel also chant death to America. Yep. Doesn't mean that Israel can't do bad things. Doesn't mean that Israel can't hurt other people. Doesn't mean that Israel can't hurt us. But I think people just aren't really being like honest of like where we're at. And I think part of being a right-wing person in some way is actually being very like clear and honest on what it is that's happening, having a good perception of the problem and not trying to obfuscate about some other, like trying to imbue some value that you think should be here and then construct your kind of like the facts around that. I think that's what we're seeing on all ends of the spectrum right now. But again, even people that agree with us, and it's causing like all these problems because you can't continue to move towards any solutions if the reason why anyone is even working with you is because they have like an ulterior motive.
There's a couple of things there that you just nailed. Some of the most insidious forces, like the problems worldwide and especially inside of America. This white guilt phenomenon, white people feeling bad. Oh, we colonized the world. Crap. Nice shirt, Al. Like the idea that white people are bad for some reason for bringing wells to Africa, for eradicating cannibalism and human sacrifice off of entire continents, for civilizing the world, like that made white people bad. This story, which the Marxists have injected into our history books, it's so insidious and so evil. It's like, not only are you missing how the world was actually won and built and what's going on, But the idea that the whites are evil and injecting that into white people, they're losing the frame which built the world. And now they're bringing in these people that have real hatred towards the West. A lot of it just straight jealousy. I've seen this talking to a lot of Indians on Twitter, very, very jealous of white people. And they want to come to America for what purpose? To build America? No, to loot America, take wealth back to India, and to trample on whites wherever they can. Talking to Indians all over Twitter, they will openly tell you this stuff if you start talking to them enough. Like the idea that whites are bad, it's very pervasive and very destructive all over the West. We see what happens in all the European nations. They're giving slaps on the wrist to Muslims that rape women all across the continent. It's insane. And then the other thing you brought up that I think is just a terrible thing, the focus on anti-Semitism. It's like, if you want to help Jews in America and you do this organization, I've seen these billboards. They're out by the airport in South Florida. Like, you have any idea how hard it is to be a Jew? Antisemitism.org. Like, okay.
No, I mean, it's really like it's like the worst. A lot of times, like the worst expression of being a Jew. That those types of people who like, and again, it only like I say like the ADL is the most anti-Semitic organization in the world, right? And it's. I mean, I consider those types of people like my enemy. Like as a Jewish person, they make my life worse. As a white person, they make my life worse. As an American, they make my life worse. Like they do not help me in any way. And it becomes like when people talk about like, you know, a Jewish interest or something, I'm like, what does that even mean? You know, it's not something that I focus on. Like I don't spend, I mean, until like I really got on Twitter and started talking about getting more interested in politics and everything that's kind of connected to that. Like I did not spend most of my time like thinking about Jews or Israel, you know, it just like wasn't some strong element of my life. And, you know, I mean, look, some people are not going to like you if you're Jewish, no matter what, and for a reason. And it's like, I don't care. But what a lot of people are doing is they're creating animosity towards Jews for no reason.
Yep.
For no reason. And it's just like, you know, you would think that, again, if you can say like, okay, because of the world's population, the majority of the people who are anti-Semitic or anti-Israel for that matter, are anti-white and anti-American. And if you just focus on the stuff that covers the whole thing, then Jews don't have anything to worry about. You know, it's, I don't know. It's just very, very frustrating because it's like, I don't want this attached to me. And I also don't want the ramifications of it. Why are you doing this? Please stop doing this.
It's a social engineering though. Like it's all the boxes they want to check it in. Like if they keep even people, like they can divide people into black, white, but then what kind of black are you? What kind of white are you? Then they divide people into religion. What kind of religion are you? And then what kind of religion are you inside that religion? Are you an Orthodox Jew or are you just a Jew? Like same thing with Christians. Fucking Christianity, Catholicism. Like you can name off the 20 different religions based off of it. It's boxes to separate ourselves with. And then we go from we can get into ethnicity, everything like that. Like the entire term forever, I used to call myself Italian American. I've never been to fucking Italy. Like ever. The closest I've been to Italy is that I sleep with my wife and she's born in Italy. That's the closest I've been. You know, like it's ever. And the thing that I decided a while ago is like I'm just an American, right? I don't get like Andrew's an American, you're an American. I don't even think about it. I've been very, very, very good friends with Mark for years. And honestly, up until this whole Jewish shit, we never even fucking talked about it. Like we literally never even, like we would make some jokes occasionally. He used to do a podcast called Two Jews in an Oven, where he did cooking with his friend, who's also Jewish. Like, but I thought it was funny, and he thought it was funny, and he got a lot of hate mail for it too. But you know, I think that if we take a step back and look at that, that is why people hate America. Is because people inside of America are taught to hate it because we hate the people that represent it, and then the people that represent it are taught to hate each other. Like, look at the whole MAGA thing, right? And don't get me wrong, I voted for Trump. I don't necessarily call myself MAGA because I don't want to label myself as anything. But I am very clearly conservative. I'm actually kind of a constitutionalist, where I think we should just get back to the Constitution. But even with MAGA, they made it so like now there's like these extreme MAGA people that Trump can do absolutely no wrong, like no matter what. And I think that's a dangerous ploy too, because then it's just divisive between the people that are on that side. The same thing if you look at the left. The left has been having an internal turmoil for about 10, 15 years because they're, well, liars and cheats and very fucking deceptive. And there's those people who used to vote Democrat, literally like me, who are just like, you people are out of your fucking mind. But then there's the people that don't think that they're liberal enough. And then our media, who most people are going to blame on the Jews anyway, but our media is going to portray these as these are life and death situations. If you don't say he, him in front of your name when you introduce yourself to people, you hate gay people. If you don't say, this in front of your name, you hate black people. If you dare, like a white man, a white man saying the word nigga, even with not the hard R, is somehow racist, even though it's in damn near every rap song. Like, they build these stages up that you can't possibly get past. They do this with the culture that is the problem at the time, and for some reason, it's Jewish turn. Like, again, we went through this whole thing. Remember when Black Lives Matter became a thing again? Like, I'm substantially older than you guys. Does everybody realize that, like, by the year 2000, very few people gave a fuck if people were gay or even trans? For fuck's sake, George Michaels was a very popular. I mean, he was an open cross-dresser. Like, and he was a very popular singer. Or that was Boy George. George Michaels was openly gay, famous because we basically bought all of his albums. Queen, openly gay. Nobody gave a shit. And all of a sudden, right around the time we needed Obama to be in office, because that's who they selected, everything became black, white, racist. Everything became gay, white, this, all that shit. And it's just weapons of division. When in fact, if everybody looked at it how you are presenting it, like you don't get, like you are happy with Israel, but you're an American. And that is the thought. If I wish if anybody could take anything from this podcast is those words that you said, because if you take yourself out of it and look at yourself an American, we should all be able to coexist as long as like what you do does not affect me. Like unless you try to boil me in a pot of semen, I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like that sort of shit. Like I don't understand. I think that's what people are missing is that like this is completely insane. I think they started. Do you guys remember when the Jewish Community Center in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, got bombed?
Yep. I don't know. It was bombed or it was shot.
I thought it was a shooting.
It was bombed. Oh no, it wasn't a shooting. It was a mass shooting. Excuse me. That used to be one of my. I used to do the healthcare nutrition for that unit when I was in healthcare, right? And it was just a nice. Like they let everybody in. I used the gym all the goddamn time. Like it was like not a. It was a center run for Jewish people because we had the kitchens. We made sure had complete kosher. We had a mashgiach, everything, Wow. And all of a sudden, and nobody cared. It was in Squirrel Hill of Pittsburgh. Nobody gave a shit. Everybody loved that place. It was amazing. And then they shoot it up, and all of a sudden, every white person in Pittsburgh hates gay people or hates Jewish people. It was this big thing back then. But when you look at it, stuff like that starts happening, and it's all of a sudden they paint every white person as hating Jews.
Yeah, there's a lot of divide and conquer. The ADL is at the forefront of trying to divide and conquer. Oh my God, yeah. I will say, I think the rainbow people do need to go away out of public life. I don't like seeing them in public at all. They need to go back to their corners where it had the way it used to be. Especially they're showing their disgusting stuff to children. They need to go to prison for things like that. But as far as some of the other things Josh said, that when I was talking about those billboards outside the airport that say anti-Semitism, you don't know how bad it is. It's just focus. I said this in a room full of Jews on Spaces, and some of the women got mad at me. It's like, if you're a Jew and you want to fix things politically, you're worried about anti-Semitism, just focus on mass deportations. That's it. Because the people that don't like Jews the most that are in the country right now anyway are the same people that all Americans should want out of here. Whether they come from the Middle East or from Latin America, these people are degrading America. We should want them all gone. And that's why the Groypers, who are largely brown Catholics, the Catholics are losing their white constituents. They want the global South to come into the West, to come into America. That's why a lot of these guys talk about, it's the Jews pushing this stuff. It's bad. Stephen Miller, deportations, it's bad. They actually want the global South to come up and take over the West. It's very insidious that they pose as right-wingers.
Well, I just think it's, there's no reason why we can't just acknowledge that the Catholic Church, HIAS, so that's the Jewish organization,
Yep.
both are extremely involved in bringing in immigrants and refugees to America.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, look, all the Somalians in Minnesota are because of the Lutheran Church.
Yep.
Okay, so like for it's like I saw some argument. Someone was going back and forth with Martin with Captive Dreamer. Some great protector. I don't know what his deal is, and Martin was talking about the Catholic Church bringing in some immigrants or something, and he's like, "I'll talk about that once you talk about like the Jewish thing first." And it's like, first off, Martin has talked about HIS a ton, the Jewish group involvement with bringing in immigrants. And for some reason, these people, they won't actually acknowledge the Catholic involvement because they either themselves are Catholic or they would rather attack Jews than actually help America. But really, like, Jews, Catholics, white Protestants, you are finding there's very, very large liberal constituencies in all these groups which destroy America. They all hate themselves, very much so. There's a strong like self-hatred to this left-wing, whatever it is you want to call it. And if we don't actually, again, I just don't understand anyone who's not trying to solve the problem. Like, why focus on why try to pigeonhole it as one specific thing, as opposed to like, if you're going to talk about politics and the sentence doesn't start with mass deportations, you're just not a serious person.
Yep.
I agree. So I did want to point out that as I'm an atheist now, but I was born and raised Catholic, confirmation, the whole 9 yards, right? So just so everybody understands, and this is the problem with organized religion. I actually believe that a lot more people in America need to either practice some sort of Judaism, Christianity. They need Jesus. I believe that. Okay. Because for, the average IQ in America has definitely gone down, and some people need guidance. But the Catholic Church is the world's largest criminal organization. And if anybody doubts that, they should see how many priests that they have relocated after getting caught raping children, plus all the land grabs, plus all the, there's so much in the Catholic histories, in Catholic Church's history, that just leads to them literally being a criminal organization. And I know that's going to upset a lot of my Catholic friends, but like, I was born and raised Catholic, and all of you, like, it's so wild because you guys probably don't know this, but any Catholic out there, every single Catholic knows of a priest that got relocated for raping a child or molesting a child. Almost every single one, right? And that's commonplace, right? And none of these people get arrested at all. They don't get arrested. They just get relocated. And I'm talking sometimes to the next neighborhood, like where they can still run into their victim at the store,
Crazy.
And so that's why I say, like, I agree with you. We're about the deportations, but you got to look at like religious organizations as the problem, like the ADL. The ADL is an organization that came in to support Jewish people, and now it's one of the most fucking, crazy organizations there is.
Again, it's like I don't feel any need to attack Catholics, to attack Protestants, to attack Jews. No. And certainly not as people, especially like as Americans. But I also don't feel the need to like spend a lot of time whether attacking the religion itself or the institutions. If we just focus on the actual solutions to the problems, like I don't like I have Jewish friends, I have Protestant friends, I have Catholic friends. Like I don't honestly, for the most part, I don't even know the difference until they tell me. And so like if you ask me, I could not tell you the difference between Protestantism and Catholicism. Like I just don't know the difference, and I don't really care. Yeah, and I don't really care. What I want to do is I want to find every group that is involved with bringing in immigrants and refugees, whether they be NGOs, religious groups, the government groups. I don't care. I want all those people who are involved with that arrested, and I want all the people deported. And I just don't think like, okay, like if a Catholic priest is molesting someone, then that person should be arrested. It's like,
of course.
I think like it's fine to acknowledge our different identities. It's like I don't think we need to erase like our ethnic backgrounds or our religious ties. We don't need to be like we're all just the same. No, we're all different. But as long as we are as long as we're American, and again, there's definitely like some people who have a lot harder time being Americans than others. and some people whose like numbers cannot exceed a certain amount of size in America before things go crazy. But I do like the political sphere is legitimately this weird battle between Protestants, Catholics, and Jews in like all kinds of different ways. And that's what it's been for like all of America's existence. And in the last, 40, 50, 60 years, the whole third world is coming in. And it's just like, if the Catholics, Protestants, and Jews don't stop doing this shit, all of the people from India and China and they're just going to steamroll all of us. Like we actually have to hold America. There have been Protestants, America is primarily a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant country, but there were Catholics and Jews here from the start. Right.
Yep.
All of these people coming in massive numbers. That is not what we have ever been. Yeah. I just do not get the focus on this sort of like intersquabble. We have so much bigger fish to fry.
That's what they want.
When I was talking to Dave Riley recently, he's a big groiper and a big Catholic. It's like the only reason that I'm talking about the Catholic stuff at all, these people just want to the Jews do this, the Jews do this. Dave, your Catholic Church does this in even greater numbers. Why are you hyper-focused on the bad Jews that did this? If you look at the one element that is new to the West, that is breaking down the cohesion in the West, it is these people. The Barbary pirates, one of America's first enemies, and now we're paying for them to come here and giving them hotel rooms and making them the mayor of Minneapolis. It is the most insane thing in the world. Let's figure all that out and get them out of the country. And then you want to talk to me about some rabbis, and we could talk about the Pope versus some rabbis you don't like. But let's save America first.
But one more time, large religious organizations, literally like the Catholic Church, the Vatican, that's like saying you're going to hold BlackRock accountable. Like everybody grasps that, right? Like that is how powerful they are. Like we need like if that doesn't get because if you want to know who's sowing the division in America and who is paying for all these people to come in, like the flights and shit like that, the massive caravan of people that came all the way through Mexico somehow, even though Mexico shoots people for coming in their country illegally normally, like that was facilitated by large organizations and paid for. All these people had money to get across the countries. That wasn't done by America. That wasn't done by Mexico. That was obviously done by large entities that have lots and lots and lots of money. And if we want to ever stop that, we need to address those people. And the thing that is keeping us from addressing those people is the division, right? Because if they don't keep us fighting, warring, if they don't keep us arguing over every little goddamn thing that they decide, if next week they don't start saying, because right now trans is big again because there was a trans shooter recently. That's going to be the next topic that they're going to distract everybody on while they encroach upon freedoms even more. And I've said it forever. We're not going to vote our way out of tyranny. We have to start unifying as a people and stop listening to the massive ploy and effort, the program to try to get us to fight against each other. And until we address that, that's why we're having problems. That's why we're diminishing. That's why we are arguing with each other about who should be able to just walk into our country. And I'm with you. I think the number's way closer to 100 million, like way closer to 100 million people. So that's kind of my point, though. Like, it's people are mad at Jews because they were told to be mad at Jews instead of being mad at the people that are making their lives fucking worse. Because Jewish people are not making your life worse. If it wasn't for Jewish people, most of you motherfuckers would not have a bank. So, I mean, like, that's just how it is, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, it's the problem is that it's okay to criticize people, and it's okay to criticize people in groups if they're acting in groups. And so identifying that a Jewish group or a Catholic group or a Lutheran group or whatever did something bad, like that's fine. The problem is that like when you try to obfuscate from the actual problem and say like, why are you talking about Jews or why are you talking about Catholics? Like, let's just solve the problem. Like, why aren't we solving the problem? Mm-hmm. Why aren't we deporting people? You know, and the problem is that like there are so many different groups and networks. You know, we saw with the whole USAID thing that are tied to sending all of our tax dollars all over the world for all kinds of crazy shit, for bringing people here, for doing all kinds of stuff. And it's like, look, you know, Biden let in, you know, the number they told us was 8 million illegal immigrants, right? If that's actually honest, that's an insane number, and it's probably way higher, right? Yeah. You know, think about like Somalians started coming in from the Civil War in the 90s, but Obama let in way more Somalians. Like a lot of these cities that have been taken over by Somalians or Indians, that's within the last like 10, 15 years. That is all very, very new. But we can't discount, George W. Bush. They wanted to let in Hispanics because they were like, oh, they're Catholic, they'll vote right wing. Reagan signed amnesty bill. Like there's political connections here. There's NGOs. There's all of this. And anyone who's like, again, we were talking about earlier about it's the attention economy, right? If you tell people that, oh, no, you think this is the story, I have the story. This is the truth. Read my Substack, watch my, stream, my hours long videos. Only through me will you get the truth. And all people want to do is sit there and be like, whoa, and did you see this? And did you see this? Like, can we not solve why are you talking about this? Why aren't we just putting all of our energy and support into actually making any kind of change that's going to fix anything? But again, you get money for clicks, right? Which is like, again, like we're all on the internet. We're all part of the thing. But I would think that you would want to use that to actually do anything. If you're going to be focusing on politics, actually get some change. And so the attack on anyone of any kind for, like you'll see, people were talking about giving Pat Buchanan like the Presidential Medal of Freedom or something, I believe. And then like, what's that guy? Potteritz? John Potter. Yeah. He was just like, okay, because maybe Pat Buchanan, like, wasn't the biggest fan of Israel or something. And it's like, okay, if Pat Buchanan was president, a lot of these problems probably wouldn't be happening here. And it's like, stop worrying about your little like minute ethnic differences or religious differences. It's like, you have to be an American. You have to be an American. If you're not American and you're not focused on America, like, what are you doing here? It's just, I don't understand it. And again, it's kind of funny because like the Protestant founding, like the WASP American, like that has lost the control of America, right? That happened in the last like 60 years or so. And so what it is the Catholics and the Jews fighting over who gets to take over America. But like, it doesn't need, like, if you look at like the Supreme Court, and it was like all Protestants, and now it's like, it's all Catholics and some Jews. And then Ketanji Jackson is the only Protestant on the Supreme Court. And she's literally the only one. She's the only one. And so like, again, Protestants, Catholics, Jews, like we're focusing on the wrong thing here. But again, if that part of you is more, and I think Jews do this, I think Catholics do this. And this is the reason why America, the KKK did not start to be anti-Black or anti-Jewish, started to be anti-Catholic, right? Like that's, there's the reason why Kennedy, had so much pushback when he came around is they thought that he was going to have an allegiance to a foreign entity, right? Which is what they all say about Jews and Israel now. And for some reason, a lot of Catholics just don't want to be honest about that because it's their thing. A lot of Jews don't want to be honest about that because if it's Israel, it's their thing. It's like people aren't being honest, and I'm just really, really sick of it.
Super refreshing. What great conversation. Thank you, Josh. We said we'd keep you an hour. We kept you a little over. I don't know if you have anything else you want the people to know. I want this to be the definitive intro to Josh Rayner. So whatever else you want people to know.
I don't know. It's funny you titled it Fitness and Health Secrets, and we didn't even touch on any of that. Like,
Andrew,
I don't know.
Andrew, I asked who you were, and Andrew was like, oh, he does fitness and everything like that. But I tell you this right now, though. I will send you a message. I'd love to have you on my show where I just talk about this.
I'd love to. Yeah, no, it's funny. Like, I never meant to do anything political, like ever. I was on social media, like on Instagram, was like a fitness influencer kind of a thing. And then I started getting more involved on Twitter. I mean, I had one, never used it because it was during COVID, and I was like, "What the hell is going on? I got to make sense of this. This is crazy." And I was talking about the vaccine, which is of course very health related, but it's political. And I was talking about like raw milk and stuff that was happening on these farms getting raided. And then somehow, like, this whole political thing, I mean, it's just unavoidable. And if I find it at least interesting, and I want to give my 2 cents if I feel like I have something to say. But my focus is actually like truly fitness based and health based. And I think one of the reasons why, we talked about culture, right? Alan, you were talking about, right, these different groups have these different cultures. And I mentioned how there's a strong like genetic component to why people are the way they are, but there's a strong just overall biological component, and that is people's health. And I think a lot of people who have terrible political views or just doing all kinds of crazy shit, it's because they're fucked up. Like they are literally sick and they're weak and they're pathetic biologically, right? You can usually tie someone's.
Oh, it's their choices. It's not their biology.
Well, their choices affect your biology. You know, it's like
Yes.
if you have a certain lifestyle, I have seen myself change to be a very different kind of person depending on what the state of my health was. The way that I would behave, for someone who, I have a YouTube channel, I used to be on TV, I've done different kinds of things like that. I have performed in very different levels. Sometimes I would say I performed at very high levels. Sometimes I would record something and be like, I was really off today, right? And it's like, oh, well, I didn't sleep last night. I ate this versus that. I wasn't feeling well, and so when you think about you mentioned okay, if you can't do 10 push-ups, you're probably whatever, it's like, if you literally are physically fucked up, you think that your thoughts and your beliefs and your opinions on anything isn't affected by that. You can see all kinds of studies where men who have low testosterone, men who have high testosterone are more likely to tell the truth, and they're more likely to not lie to become accepted by the crowd. There's all kinds of actual they gave Democrats testosterone and they all became more Republican, in their beliefs kind of thing. Some people have said that's a bad study, but I'm just saying there's all kinds of instances where you can actually show that manipulating someone's biology changes their behavior, their social behavior, their political opinions. And we are a very, very sick world at this point. And the problem is that when you're in a political discourse, whether you're debates on Twitter, people are having their back and forth on videos, YouTubers and streamers and podcasters, actual politicians, news pundits, whatever you want to call it. You just don't really think about the fact that this person who we're supposedly supposed to take their behavior and their opinion with full credibility is actually deeply sick and ill. And their behavior and what they're expressing is a manifestation of the fact that they're really, really screwed up. If I was very weak, not even just physically weak, but energetically weak and felt very insecure and didn't feel like I had the energy to do anything, and I was very, very lazy, it's I would construct my political views to make my life easier. I would want people to give me stuff, right? And the problem is that we refuse to acknowledge, and again, whether it's genetics, whether it's nature or nurture, I don't care how you want to look at it, there's such a strong biological component to it. And until we can actually address that, till we can acknowledge that some people, if someone is so fucked up that, you're talking about the trans shooter thing, I'm a very strong Second Amendment kind of person, but you have to find a way to weed out people that are actually severely ill, such to the point that they are cutting off body parts. That person should be in an insane asylum and they should be tied down and somehow pumped with the right kind of drugs to get them off of the wrong, something like that. But we close the insane asylums. We have all kinds of crazy homeless people everywhere, and we just don't want to solve problems. We don't want to touch things. We just want to be oh well, yeah, well, we can't do this. And I'm not saying I know what the solution is, but this is a major, major, major problem. And the Kennedy Maha stuff, that's in the general right direction. But as long as our world as a whole is trending towards an environment which is making people sick, people that should not be, we were talking about propping up populations that don't have the ability to sustain themselves. You're basically promoting the reproduction of people who are not healthy enough to survive. And you're doing it on a massive, of course it's America, but if you deported a lot of people, you'd be getting rid of a lot of those people.
Yes and no. We prop ourselves up by borrowing money that doesn't exist.
Oh, sure. I'm not, but again, if we stopped giving all of our money to the rest of the world, we wouldn't need to do that,
Yeah, we would. Yeah, our healthcare expenditure is going to be $5.7 trillion this year. We absolutely need to be borrowing money. The government portion, the tax portion of the healthcare expenditure is almost three times because they just increased the defense budget. but it's almost 3 times the defense budget. Like, we borrow money just to prop up America, and I'm all for it because we've like, if we just pull, like, I have even written some articles about it. If we just pulled all this and let everybody kind of like natural selection out, a huge portion of America would
the
pass
aid
away.
we're giving both healthcare and food to immigrants that we brought here, and the same money that we send out to other countries to help grow their populations with our tax dollars. It is insane, and that all needs to be cut off.
Yeah, well, look, and I mean, like, you're right. Like, there are American citizens who, like, it's no different. It's just it's welfare all the same. You're facilitating a system that is actually making the problem worse. Every time you throw money at it, you're going to have to throw even more money at it, and it's insane. And we need to stop doing it. And I agree that, look, if it's the rest of the world, pulling the plug is a lot easier than if it's American citizens. So then we try to scale it back in a maybe more sustainable way so that we don't drop off a whole population of the segment of the population like off a cliff. But if we have to actually recognize that that's bad, we have to stop doing that. And whatever we do needs to work ourselves back off the cliff.
The first thing we're doing, we cut off the Reese's Pieces and the Snickers bars from the EBT, which I know Alan loves that. And Alan, Josh, he doesn't get credit, so I'm going to give him credit on this show finally. The first guy to sell "Make America Healthy Again" on a hat. You're looking at him right over there.
I started talking about it in 2021.
Oh, nice. There you go.
I'm not getting paid though.
You should. You should have trademarked it.
The Jewish mind goes right to the trademark. That's
but
listen.
But technically, once you publish it, it's copywritten. Once you publish it, technically.
Get yourself a good Jewish lawyer and come after RFK. Make a nice deal with the Kennedy family.
Now, here's the thing. I don't want to come after RFK. I would just like to have a voice at the table, because I'm totally for the Maha movement and completely understand. But you were touching on this. We are not going to legislate health. Like, we have to convince the population that they should actually have to try. Because right now they're waiting for the next shot, pill, or like the food dyes to be taken out. Like, just because there was dyes in Reese's Pieces doesn't mean you needed to eat the fucking Reese's Pieces. Like, just because, people make choices and it puts them in a very bad state. Like, I've got this thing that I talk to all my clients about. I eat probably less than 5% of my total weekly caloric intake is from ultra processed food. And honestly, most of the time, that's just a glass of whiskey, at one time a week, right? But that's we can't legislate it out. I would just, instead of going through that whole thing, if I could just get RFK's attention so I could have a seat at the table and be like, maybe instead of just the presidential fitness thing, we actually make it so like we realize and we stop letting media spread complete ass lies saying that weight stigma is more dangerous than losing weight or more dangerous than being fat. That telling a fat person that they're fat should be a crime instead of the fat person being a disproportionate burden on all society. That's all I want. And if you're listening to RFK, if you're listening, that's all I want.
Yeah, I mean, I would say come after RFK, like bring him down. I'm just saying, get that bag. Get that bag. But thank you, my Jewish friend. I appreciate it. Yeah, Jesus Christ. I do have to get going, but this has been.
Me too.
Fun.
I was just playing. Great meeting you, man.
Josh, I dropped this stream into a legendary group chat. One guy said, "Josh is the fucking man, dude. You should add him in here if he's not." Another guy. Actually, I'm gonna out. Captive Dreamer says, "Yeah, he's a great guy." Captive Dreamer says, "Josh is a great guy." So
Martin's my dude. Martin's my dude. Appreciate that. Love you.
Thank you for coming on. Where can people find you?
Yeah, my handle is at Josh Rainer Gold, RAINER. That's me on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube. I have a podcast called Rainer Radio. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Follow Josh Rainer. Throw the man a subscription. Thank you for watching Jewcast. See you guys soon.